Hey Tracy, how are you this morning?
Really, really well. Yourself?
Very, very well. I had an amazing weekend in Madrid, so that helps. Lots of sunshine.
Excellent. And I can see you've got more sunshine, so you brought it home with you. Well done.
I did. It's beautiful weather here. Very cold indoors because it's a stone house, but outside it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that in the UK because we're nearly mid-October, so it's not warm enough for the heating, but the sun's not as warm as it was. So you kind of got that in-betweeny stuff. Autumn is here.
Autumn is here. Oh my goodness, hasn't it been coming for a long time?
Yeah, it feels like it, but it's keeping itself at bay, which is really great because I'm so not ready for cold weather yet. So.
No, me either.
So I'm really looking forward to today's podcast. We're looking at the sisterhood wound, aren't we?
That's right, yeah.
This one's going to be an interesting one. I've had quite a lot of things come up in different sessions with clients recently. So I think they're going to find this useful as a healing tool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that some people kind of go through life, I guess, without realizing that there's actually reasons behind things, why they do what they do, why they experience what they experience. And I think the sister wound is one of those things that you just don't realize it's there.
Mm, yeah, I think
It,
that's very, very true. And I think once you know it's there and you can see the writing on the wall, it's a massive game changer. So I really think people are going to get a lot from today.
yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into what is the sister wound. So
Okay.
again, it's a deep level wound and it reflects the betrayal, the rejection, the jealousy, the competition, and the exclusion between women, particularly among like sisters, of course, but soul sisters, the people that you really connect with on a day-to-day basis, and sacred communities as well. And this stems from a collective trauma that's taught women to mistrust one another,
Yeah.
to compete for safety, to compete for love, visibility, and to see each other as a threat rather than an ally. And I
Mm,
think that that's the important thing. And I'm going to say that again, is we've been taught to treat each other as a threat rather than an ally, a friend, a companion,
yeah.
and all of those beautiful energies. We're all here to support each other, but we've actually been taught to turn against each other.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, when you look through history, my historian head's leaping into play. If you look at what I call the cattle market of the 17 and 1800s, and even before, there was only so many eligible lords to go around. And then there'd be this cattle market or meat market, as I see it, where all the available ladies were competing with each other to catch the eye of the most eligible bachelor. It just makes my blood run cold that we were put through this. So you had to kind of elbow them out of the way and walk over the top of them because this was your freedom. You wanted to elevate yourself. You wanted that safety and security that marrying Lord so and so was meant to bring you. It didn't always bring you that, but that's what you were told as a woman. You'd
Absolutely.
even be competing against your own sisters if you were all of a certain age, because back in the day, there was only like a 3 or 4 year window where you were considered eligible, and then you were a spinster at like 17. You were on the shelf. It was just diabolical. But even when you look at other things like if they were in the church, you've got sisters vying for the attention of the mother superior, sisters
Mhm.
vying for the prime roles, sisters vying to be the next mother superior. So again, they're all fighting against each other. And it's just been present all the way through history. Even if you look through the hierarchy of the servants, the lowest of the low wants to end up at the top being the housekeeper. So you've got to like elbow everyone else out the way. So
Yeah.
it's been around for centuries.
Oh my goodness, it goes back as far as the witch trials.
That as well, yeah.
I'm further back than that. I mean, during the witch trials, women were encouraged to betray one another for survival. Like if you gave up another witch, then you have potentially saved your own life.
Yeah.
Right? So the witch trials were a big thing. And, we said that some of these woundings cross each other and parts of them are going to be in other parts. So the sisterhood wound is linked to the witch wound, but also the priestess wound. Right. So
Mhm.
if you think about temples long ago, the top priestess, the lower priestesses are going to be competing to be that top priestess. So, it goes back lifetimes and timelines
Oh, it really does.
of where we are taught to fight each other.
Mm. Yeah, and this crosses through everyone else in the family dynamic. So whether there's all girls, boys and girls, whatever, and then it can spread out into the wider family because you might be competing against your own cousins. And then
Yeah.
when you look at things like um, even just being in that dynamic of wanting to be your own boss, wanting to have your own business,
Mm,
suddenly you're in competition with the other women, and it's very easy to be territorial. Now,
mm,
I love that the Americans are, on the face of it, a lot less that way. I see more people going, let's pull together, let's work together, let's help each other, rather
yeah.
than let's tear each other down. And I think that needing security can be a huge driver that can lead us down the wrong paths. Um, and so, for instance, like you were saying about the women that were turning against people and going, "Oh, you're a witch." Sometimes that was the only way they were going to get an eligible husband, was to make sure that the wife was off the scene.
Mm.
And so there's lots of different things in history that are still playing out in the modern world. And it's kind of fostered by society and encouraged by society. And to take someone famous, you look at the rivalry that the press created between Princess Diana and Fergie,
Hmm.
and they're doing exactly the same now with Meghan and Kate.
Yeah.
Even though they're two different people, they're not rivals for a crown because one's the heir and one's the spare, but there's still, like, the press need to tear one down and promote one, and that's just not the energy that we should be putting out there these days.
Absolutely. And when we look at us as spiritual entrepreneurs, I feel there's still a lot of competition
Mm.
to be the best, to be the most visible, to hold that title of perhaps influencer. And I feel that's something that is really prevalent. And because we've been taught about competition to compete with each other, we often hold a lot of jealousy that can actually hold us back. And I know that, when I'm working with my clients, it's important to put across that there's enough business for everyone. We all have our unique talents. We all have our unique ways of getting things across. We all have our unique ways of interacting with clients. Yet we still hold on to this competition and this jealousy.
Absolutely. I mean, it's slightly unrelated. I needed some shoes to go into the cobblers. We've got two cobblers in Herne Bay where I live, and I have never stepped foot in the other one. I've no desire to. It doesn't welcome me at all. Whereas the one that I've been going to for the 30 years I've lived here, his energy is great. He goes above and beyond. He won't tell you he can do something if it's not worth it. And it's just like, I have no interest in going to that other one. So it's very energetic. There is plenty of business to go around everybody, like you say, and people will go with who they're drawn to. So there's no point stabbing other people in the back, or jealously guarding your sector, because if people aren't drawn to you, they're not going to work with you, and that
Mm,
kind of energy is actually going to repel people you know
yeah.
um, and when you look at a lot of the books that are set during those times, like Pride and Prejudice and all those kind of things, there was a hell of a lot of backstabbing going on, and it didn't make people like them. It doesn't make you attractive. And it's the same now. If people can see that your energy is off for
Mm.
whatever reason, they're not going to come to you. But that's then going to trigger that sisterhood wound. And it's
Yeah.
easy then to start thinking, oh, this person over here must be stabbing me in the back and doing this, this, and this because I'm not getting the business. No, it's coming
Mm.
because of the energy you're giving off. So even just that paranoia, that fear that other people are doing you wrong will actually help to shut you off from everybody else energetically.
Oh, 100%. And if you think about, what we read in the news, as you've said, what we watch on TV, there's always the, want of a better word, the villain
Yeah,
that is the backstabber, that is the one that can't be trusted, that is the one that, goes behind betraying
yeah,
people. So it's in front of us all of the time. Yet maybe we don't realize that this is something that is really possibly showing up in your life because you've experienced it in the past. So
yeah,
chances are you haven't experienced betrayal in this lifetime, but in the past you may have been betrayed by your coven for being a witch, right?
yeah,
So understanding that this wounding runs really, really deep, and it can come from everything that we've talked about, from competing with your sister for the husband, for competing to be top nun sister, all of those things. And it's like it's ingrained with us to be in competition with other women.
yeah, absolutely. And we see it in the family dynamic where everybody wants to be daddy's number one princess or
Hmm.
mommy's number one girl or whatever it is, but it's generally the father. And that can sour things. And a lot of the time, the perception is the problem. It's like, oh, he prefers my sister to me. She's the golden girl. I'm not. And then you turn yourself into the black sheep, which becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. And actually, what I think is that parents don't love their children equally because each child is different. So you love each child in a different way, but
Yeah.
you love them as much as each other.
Yeah.
But it gets expressed differently. Like the eldest is always going to be the one that everything was new. And by the time you get to child number 10, everything's been done already. And you see it with the photographs. The first child, everything they do, like they've only got a burp and there's a photograph of them. By the time you get to second, third, fourth, you don't have the time to be photographing absolutely everything that happens. So the youngest can feel that they're not special, they're not wanted, they're not as lovable as the eldest one, and that creates a rivalry because now the youngest one is chasing what the eldest one has.
Mm.
And so
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely. And I think that also, um, especially if they're sisters, my experience, the middle child doesn't know where they fit in. So they're competing with the older sibling, but they're also competing with the younger sibling as
yeah.
well.
Oh yeah, there's a whole dynamic goes with that. And when I work with people, that often comes to the fore, and we need to address that first because, I've got friends where when the baby came along, the first sister got completely bent out of shape and threw her toys out the pram because she was no longer the princess and the center of her parents' world.
Mm.
And mum was too busy looking after child number 2 and number 3, and she was old enough to go and look after herself, so her nose was really out of joint. um,
Yeah.
and so all of that will play in, and when you put that into context of what's going on in the world, it's easy to see that in the war, if you had that kind of nasty, toxic relationship with your sister, that you might drop her in it with the Nazis, or you might dob her into the police, or you might point the finger that she's a witch, you know?
Yeah.
And so all of those factors come into play, and you don't see the aftermath, the guilt and the oh my god, what have I done. And so those sister wounds are probably one of the ones that crops up the most.
Mm.
because you may have had like 1,000 lives where the sisterhood wound has been a problem, but you might only have two or three where being a witch was an issue, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a massive, massive wound just because of the amount of times it plays out.
100%. I think the Sisterhood is one of the most interesting,
Mm,
because I think it's almost like it's underrated, isn't it? That people just don't understand that some of these things are coming from betrayal
mm,
with women in
yeah.
past lives. But we've also got to remember we've signed up for this.
Oh yeah. And then, of course, thinking about it, you have to add in the fact that we play all the different roles. So we might be the sister that is the root of the envy. We might be the sister that is the envious one, and we're the one that's betrayed. And we're the one that is just watching it all play out, but we're kind of in the background because we might be child number 6 or whatever it is. um, you might be the best friend, you might be the male sibling, you might be the parent watching your children tear each other apart, and so this will have played out in very many different ways over very many different lifetimes. And so you could be dealing with the sister wound of having been betrayed, as well as being the person that did the betraying,
Absolutely.
you know so
Yeah, it is interesting. So let's talk about like how it shows up right now. So the obvious one is difficulty trusting other women,
yeah.
especially in business and sacred spaces.
Hmm.
Feeling judged or excluded in group settings. So groups of women, you may feel that you don't quite fit in, or that people are judging you, or you're slightly excluded in one way or another.
And I would say also that this can show up that if you are a business person or in a very heavily dominated female space, it's very easy to become the dominant person so that you feel you're top dog and that you can control everybody else. Also, I see it show up as not trusting yourself, not being strong enough to feel that you can hold your place in your business field or your business, and just not really being strong enough and powerful enough to be that one person. And so you can end up feeling like you've got to be everybody's friend so that they're less likely to betray you. It's exhausting. It really is exhausting.
Absolutely. There are so many different triggers that can show up, like comparing yourself to others, not feeling good enough, right? So you're overgiving, overgiving, overgiving all of the time.
Mm,
Um, or maybe you're going the other way and you're withholding your wisdom and holding back your light because you don't want to be compared to others, or you don't want to be in competition with others. So there's a lot of different things that play out within this. And I think one of the biggest things is the gossip, the jealousy, the competition, and maybe being a little bit passive aggressive as well.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a couple of people around me that are very passive aggressive. And you can see when you know their history where it's come from. And I think also because you've got the sister wound going on, and you might have the witch and or the oracle wound going on, so they're all going to come together and play merry hell.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's the societal things where, like just in my lifetime, I was born in the 70s. My mum was that sandwich generation that wanted to go out to work, but it wasn't the done thing. And then
Mm.
once she had us, she did try to return to work when we were older. Um, but she was always, well, why are you bothering to go to college? Because you're only going to get married and have kids. And in the next breath, it's like, well, you might as well go and get a job because you're short, fat, and ugly, and no one's going to marry you anyway. So you need that job. She couldn't make up her mind where she sat. And so
Mm.
society hasn't really properly given women their voice. It hasn't properly given women that equal power to men. So we're in that kind of generation where we're still trying to show that men and women are equally as good as each other, and then you bring all those wounds in. So we're getting it from both sides. We've got all of our own baggage that's saying you can't do this, you can't have that, and then you've got society doing similar, and you're in the middle like the sandwich filling going, oh my god, this isn't working, why is this not working, why is this so hard?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. There are so many different things that we can hold on to that it feels like a bit like a yo-yo. So you've got the fear of being judged.
Yeah.
So your visibility is hidden perhaps a little bit, and that's gonna trigger you when other women are successful.
Yeah.
You've got the fear of sharing your truth because you're scared that people are going to copy you.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, that there's two different energies with this sister wound,
Yeah.
right? And it can be very out of balance. So we need to bring it back to the center
Mm.
to balance it so that we're not, in one moment being scared of being in circles or in other women's company. And then on the other hand, being fearful that they're going to copy everything that you do and say,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So there is a lot.
There is a lot. And, when people come to me and this comes up, it's normally trapped in the heart chakra down more
Yeah.
so than the heart chakra up. And that that fear of betrayal can make it very hard to make friends with other women because
Hmm.
you've had those lifetimes where it hasn't ended well. And sometimes I think that the sister wound, we're so hard on ourselves because we judge by those around us and we feel they're up here and we're down here, and then we're bringing in all the betrayal that our soul has done over the years.
Yeah.
And again, those were gifts that we agreed with that soul that we betrayed. Okay, so this isn't about judging ourselves. This isn't about you were a terrible person in a previous life. We'll have all have done everything in previous lives. We'll have been everything. So just,
Mm.
accept that, but know that they were mechanisms for growth for the souls that you incarnated with. But you have to let go of it in this life because otherwise you're going to play it out on yourself.
Yeah.
And it's holding you back from being your truly magnificent, authentic self.
Yeah, 100%. So, now's the time to definitely talk about some ways that we can start to heal the sister wound. And of course, forgiveness is going to be one of the top ones.
Yeah.
So, if you know that you have knowingly hurt women, then this would be a great time to start releasing that. But also, if you know that you have betrayed yourself, or that you have hurt yourself by not sharing your gifts or not standing up for yourself or not being a part of the team, for example, then forgiveness again is going to be really, really powerful. Inner child work, always inner child work.
Always, always. And I think, to be fair,
um,
even if we don't know, because most people are not going to know what their past lives were, to be fair, unless they're working with someone like you and I.
yeah,
I think it's pretty safe to assume, sorry, that most of us have done most of the bad stuff out there as well as the good stuff.
yeah,
And so ask your body to tell you or show you where that forgiveness needs to be, and just allow it. It might come up as a word or a picture, or you might feel something in your left breast and you go, oh, there's something there. Okay. And just have an intuitive dialogue with it and then follow that thread back. And it might take you back to literally stabbing your sister in the chest, or it might come back to, someone stabbing themselves rather than face whatever was coming to them as a result of being betrayed, whether that was through the witch or through a different wound. And so if you don't know that it's there, there's a pretty good likelihood there is. So just ask your soul to intuitively communicate with you and see what comes up. And they might even show you the whole lifetime. okay, or a bit of a lifetime to help you deal with it. So if you're thinking, well, I don't even know if I've got this going on, I'd say there's a very high chance, like 90% chance, that you've got at least one life where that will be present and it needs releasing. And just work to forgive yourself, even if you don't know what you did, when you did it, and to whom,
Mm.
because you have to think of this like a play. Life is a play, as Shakespeare said. The world is your stage, and we are the people playing the roles. But this would be a one woman or a one man show, but you have to play every single character, and that might be over many lifetimes. And so, there's a lot there that needs shifting.
100%. And, we attract people that mirror back to us what we need to heal in ourselves.
Absolutely.
So if you're attracting women that perhaps gossip or that are generally hard work, maybe a bit toxic, or that you don't trust, that's something that needs healing in yourself. So that's one way to know that you have something that needs to be healed because it is being mirrored back to you.
Yeah. Or you might have had like five people betray you, and it's like, ow, that really hurts. And it's like, well, yeah, that's because you did the betraying, and you've got to balance it out and then shift it. Like, for instance, for me, my least favorite card in the tarot is the moon, because I don't like backstabbers and I don't like people that lie or are two-faced. So I know that there's still work there to do on that. It's better than it was. I don't kind of look at it and go, ugh, as like I used to when I first started, but that means that there is stuff there that still needs shifting because of the fact that I have that reaction to the moon card in the tarot.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite cards, actually.
Interesting. So maybe you were the one doing the betraying and you had a really great time with it, and I was the one that ended up on the scaffold. Thanks, pal.
Maybe. Maybe. So, this would be a great time to find a sisterhood
Yeah,
that you trust. So, maybe not a great big one, but maybe making connections in safe spaces because this is all about not feeling safe with women. So, making or joining something with a safe space with aligned women where growth, love, respect, boundaries, and all of those are in place so that you can start to trust, right? Until we start to make a change and start to trust and start to open ourselves up, we're not going to move forwards from this.
absolutely. Yeah. And, there's so many ways to heal. And can I just say, if you happen to be a guy and you're watching this and going, they keep banging on about women, you will have had many female lives and you will have been through this and you will have it in your soul now. So even if you aren't female and aren't in the sisterhood, you can still do the healing work, because you may have been betrayed by a woman. You may have had two women fighting over you, and one managed to get the other one out of the way or did something so she was out of the running in the first place. And so it's still valid to heal it. But you can work with people like Susie or myself. You can do the inner child work. You can find circles where you can heal. There's just so many ways that you can get the healing that you need, depending on how you are. Like, I find that I'm not very good at doing the self work. I'm much better when I work with someone on certain things,
Mm.
whereas other times I can do it quite happily. So if you're someone that is really great at doing the self work, like Tony Robbins did huge amounts of self work, and it was he was good at it, but not everyone is. So if you need help, get it. If you can do it on your own, then brilliant.
Absolutely. I mean, the Akashic Records is a great way to heal all of the woundings that we have been talking about because we can actually go in, see and understand what happened without feeling the emotions.
Yeah,
And then once you have an understanding, things become a little bit easier, don't they, to start healing because it's like, oh, okay, so that makes sense.
yeah,
So now we can start to heal that. So definitely Akashic record journeys are perfect for understanding what woundings you have, why you have them, and how to move forwards, because we do the healing within the Akashic records.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And, I really have found over the years that any development work, whether it's only just a psychic development circle, can still bring healing. So you don't have to go and do, week-long retreats and spend thousands. Even just being in that small development circle where you meet once or twice a month is going to bring healing and shifts and knowledge and just make you go, oh, okay, that kind of hits home. I need to do something with that. Okay. So don't overwhelm yourselves with trying to find the healing. It can be in very little ways that are still powerful.
Absolutely. And the sister wound is really giving you an invitation to heal these isolation, betrayal, exile, wounds, and kind of reclaim your power, right? Your divine feminine. We're talking about a feminine energy,
Mm,
and start to actively co-create and collaborate with other women.
definitely. Yeah. Put yourself out there and get out of your comfort zone. And you'll find that actually most of those things in your wound are old, they're not valid anymore. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Times have changed, and a lot of the woundings that we've talked about have all come in certain parts back to safety and survival.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's what humans' biggest fear always was, right back in caveman times. You had to
Exactly.
avoid the saber-toothed tiger and the wolves and everything else, find food and just be able to survive another day. So it's hardwired into us to want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't need to do that anymore.
No, it's a different world. So
For sure. For sure. So we want to clear all of these woundings to really help us to be in the present moment, right? Because most of the woundings are past lives. We
yeah,
keep being drawn back to the past, or we're bringing the past into the present. So the more that we clear these woundings, the more that we can be in the present moment.
absolutely. And the things that are happening in this life are also there to trigger us and show us that there's work to be done. Okay. It would be like walking along, and every time you put your foot down, it hurts. And when you look at the sole of your foot, you've got a splinter in there, and you're like, oh, look, that's telling me I need to put on thicker shoes. So it's not always meant to be more drama, more trauma. It's meant to just go, oi, do some work over here and things will get better.
Exactly. Exactly. So what an interesting wounding.
It really is. And I think we'd be hard pressed to find many people that haven't been through that in at least one life, if not more.
Yeah, 100%. So let us know in the comments how this resonated with you and what aha moments you had from this.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading those. So, if you want to work with Susie or I to really do this healing, then you can connect with us. Our details are all in the show notes. Do come and subscribe to the podcast and, keep in touch every week. And come and join us in our communities on Facebook where we can help work with you more.
Absolutely. And follow both of our YouTube channels as well.
Brilliant.
So next week, are we recording next week? Yes, we are recording next
Oh,
week.
we
We
are.
are. Yes. So what are we going to do next week?
I don't know. What do you fancy?
Oh, I don't know. We've done a lot of woundings. Let's do something a bit more positive.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, let's have a think on it then, because I just
Yeah,
assumed we were going to work through the wounds, and I was thinking, oh, it's probably the brotherhood wound next, which is a really interesting one. They're all interesting. I find
they're all
them fascinating.
interesting. I
Um,
tell you what, let us know in the comments. Do you want us to keep going with the woundings, or would you like us to do something a little bit different?
Good idea. So drop your comments, and we will come up with something.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the great comments. So many of you are telling us how much this has helped, how enlightening it's been, and how thought provoking. And that's really what we're all about. So I'm really pleased that it's hitting the spot.
Yeah, fantastic. It's lovely to connect with you all and to share a little bit of our wisdom and knowledge. And of course, we learn along the way as well, don't we, Tracy?
We really do. It's been really fascinating. So we will be back next week. Not sure what the subject's going to be yet. You'll just have to tune in and find
Fantastic. See you all next week.
out. Bye.